I'd like to get the Meg Ryan one right. I mean, we're both in a fairly grim mood, I think, for various reasons. Boyfriend had left and all that. The film she was promoting, she knew wasn't very good.
Meg Ryan was Hollywood's sweetheart at the height of her fame. She was the face of an entire era, dominating the box office with effortless charm. Then, almost overnight, everything began to fall apart as her marriage unraveled and Russell Crowe entered the picture. What followed wasn't just a scandal, but a turning point that changed her career and public image. Now, years later, the truth about what really happened is finally coming to light. How did Hollywood's golden girl lose her crown so quickly? And where does she stand today? Join us as we unveil what really happened between Meg Ryan and Russell Crowe. How it all began. Anyone who followed the film industry in the 90s would agree that Meg Ryan was one of the most valuable women in Hollywood. She was the face of romantic comedy. She was the actress whose name alone was enough to open a film. One might ask, what's so special about Meg anyway? Well, there's a lot. She studied first at the University of Connecticut, then transferred to New York University. Meg was left with just one semester before graduating, but she never graduated. She quit just before the finish line to pursue what she really wanted, acting. This was a risk most aspiring actors never take, and only a few who dare survive. Her first substantial role came on the soap opera As the World Turns, where she played Betsy Stewart Montgomery Andropolis from 1982 to 1984. At that time, soap operas were basically training grounds for young actors, and Meg, whose enthusiasm was through the roof, learned the craft very quickly. But she wanted more than daytime television. She wanted actual films. The industry didn't disappoint her. Her big break came in 1986 with Top Gun, the action drama starring the legendary Tom Cruise and Anthony Edwards. In the film, Meg played Carol Bradshaw, the wife of Goose. Although it was not a leading role, the film's status as a cultural phenomenon was enough, and audiences easily recognized her. Directors also noticed her, and 3 years later, she landed the career-defining role that would set her on the path to stardom. When Harry Met Sally was released in 1989, Meg played Sally Albright, a woman who believes that men and women cannot be friends because romantic feelings always get in the way. The film was smart, funny, and unexpectedly moving. It also featured one of the most famous scenes in movie history. Her performance in the film was so good that she received her first Golden Globe nomination. The entire 90s were just about Meg Ryan. Audiences automatically knew that when they bought a ticket to a Meg Ryan movie, they would leave the theater feeling good. While Meg was known for her love comedies, she was not just a romantic comedy actress. She wanted to show range. In 1994, she starred in When a Man Loves a Woman, playing an alcoholic high school guidance counselor. It was a darker, dramatic role, and she earned a Screen Actors Guild Award nomination for it. In 1998, she starred in 2 box office smashes, City of Angels with Nicolas Cage and You've Got Mail with Tom Hanks. She was everywhere and unstoppable. When the 2000s arrived, her salary already reflected her status. She received a paycheck of $15 million for a single movie at a time when that kind of paycheck was reserved for the biggest male stars. It immediately established her as one of the highest-paid actresses in Hollywood at the time. She could have had almost any role she wanted. There were roles she turned down, too. One of the most famous was Clarice Starling in The Silence of the Lambs. The role went to Jodie Foster, who won an Academy Award for it. Meg Ryan reportedly made over $670 million at the box office. This doesn't sound remarkable at first until you learn that she made that amount from just 4 films. She was undoubtedly America's sweetheart, but in the early 2000s, everything fell apart. The actress had different priorities. She was building a career on warmth and relatability, not darkness and violence. She knew what her audience wanted, and she gave it to them. For a decade, that strategy worked perfectly. But behind the smile, the box office numbers, and the huge paychecks, her personal life was not as picture-perfect as her films. The collapse of Meg Ryan's reputation was not an overnight accident. It began with an affair, then a scandal that the internet could not stop talking about. And at the center of it all was a man named Russell Crowe. The relationship with Russell Crowe. In the midst of establishing herself as a Hollywood leading lady, Meg started dating fellow Hollywood leading man Dennis Quaid, whom she married in 1991. A year later, they gave the world yet another Nepo baby, their son, Jack Quaid, who today is the lead star of superhero series The Boys, and most recently had a role in Christopher Nolan's Oppenheimer. The couple eventually separated in 2000 and finalized their divorce the following year. They have since both accused each other of being unfaithful, but Meg told Oprah the marriage was very unhealthy. By the time Meg Ryan met Russell Crowe, her marriage to Dennis Quaid was already over. At least, that was what she wanted the world to believe. The public saw it differently, though. The tabloids did not spare her when photographs emerged of her and Crowe holding hands. The story simply wrote itself. America's sweetheart had left her husband for a volatile Australian actor, who, by the way, was making waves too. The scandal was immediate, and the coverage was just as relentless. That unexpected relationship would change the trajectory of Meg's career forever. They had met in 2000 on the set of Proof of Life, the action thriller about a hostage negotiator where she earned her $15 million paycheck. Russell played Terry, a man who rescues kidnappings, while Meg played Alice, a woman whose husband has been kidnapped. The film's plot involved their characters developing romantic sparks, but no one knew that behind the scenes, those sparks were real. The chemistry that was supposed to be acting became something else. In July 2000, before the divorce from Quaid was even finalized, Ryan and Crowe were photographed holding hands while leaving Tom Cruise's party for the premiere of Mission Impossible 2. It was the kind of image that tabloids dream about. Two of the biggest stars in Hollywood were emerging from a party, looking like they had something to hide. But that wasn't even the first time they were spotted together. They had been seen nuzzling in restaurants and clubs all over London during filming. They were seen gallivanting all over California and Australia together. Some mutual friends who watched the relationship unfold described them as two people who were completely consumed by each other. One friend told People magazine that they seemed crazy about each other. They had great talks. They emailed each other a lot, and he called her all the time. Another friend described Meg as extremely infatuated with Russell. The couple had pretended to be house hunting together in Australia, a failed attempt to fool people. The duo suspiciously refused to do most press interviews for Proof of Life to avoid discussing the affair. It was a decision that angered the film's director, Taylor Hackford. He told the Calgary Sun that he was deeply hurt by their choice. He had made a movie, and he wanted to promote it. But the two stars of that movie would not talk to the press because they did not want to answer questions about their personal lives. The film, Hackford believed, suffered as a result. The relationship lasted less than 1 year. Meg and Russell reportedly started dating in early 2000 and ended by Christmas of that year. By December, they were separated, each spending the holidays on different continents. The breakup was quiet, just like the spark they tried so desperately to hide. They didn't even bother to explain what had gone wrong. They just moved on with their lives. But the fallout from the relationship did not end when the romance did. Meg was painted as a scarlet woman. Her own words to W magazine: the woman who had played Sally Albright, the woman who had made America believe in love, was now being described as a home wrecker. Her squeaky clean image, the one that had made her millions in a movie, took a major hit. She went from America's sweetheart to something else. The public did not forgive her easily, and the industry, which had once lined up to work with her, began to pull away. The relationship with Russell Crowe was brief, but its impact on Meg Ryan's career was lasting. She had gone from being the most valuable woman in Hollywood to being the subject of tabloid gossip. But the affair was not the only controversy that would define her in the years that followed. There were others that had nothing to do with romance and everything to do with how Hollywood treats women who refuse to play by its rules. But before that, what has Meg said about her relationship with Russell? The truth about Meg and Crowe's relationship. For over 20 years, the story has remained the same. Meg Ryan left Dennis Quaid for Russell Crowe. The affair destroyed her marriage, the scandal destroyed her reputation, and Russell was a home wrecker. That was the narrative. The press printed it, talk shows discussed it, and it's what the public believed. But the truth, as Meg Ryan has slowly revealed over the years, is more complicated than that. At 64, Meg had addressed this central issue, and according to her, the affair did not end her marriage because her marriage was already over at the time. Contrary to popular beliefs, Russell Crowe did not break up a family because there was no happy family to break up in the first place. And the woman who was painted as a Scarlet Woman says she found the experience liberating rather than crushing. In an interview, Meg said that her time being labeled as a Scarlet Woman was really interesting. She said that, as painful as it was also incredibly liberating. She said she did not have to care about what people thought anymore. The relationship with Russell was brief, and one of their crew members from Proof of Life told People magazine that it was a typical co-star fling. But a friend of Meg's revealed that Russell actually wanted more. According to the friend, Russell wanted to marry Meg and have kids with her. His attention was excessive. He gave her gifts, including a 1963 Buick antique car and a puppy. It was described as too much too soon. Meg, who had just emerged from a difficult divorce, was not ready for that level of commitment. There was also the matter of distance. Russell was living in Australia, and Meg lived in Los Angeles. In an interview with the Herald Sun, Russell hinted that the geographic distance was the reason they did not last. He said he could not sustain himself throughout the year without filling up on home. And Meg needed the same. Despite the breakup, Russell has not stopped speaking warmly of Ryan. In that same Herald Sun interview, he said she was a beautiful and courageous woman. He said he grieved the loss of her companionship, but he had not lost her friendship. While the matter was still being discussed, Meg tried another relationship, and the result was shocking. The last relationship and current standing. Everyone thought Meg would stay away from love affairs after Russell, and for a decade, that seemed to be the case. That is, until the public caught wind of her budding relationship with musician John Mellencamp, whom she had been quietly dating for weeks. They embarked on a rocky on and off relationship, and once again, the media couldn't get enough. The unsteady nature of the romance eventually proved too much for the couple. The news that Meg Ryan was dating John Mellencamp surfaced after the two were seen at her favorite coffee shop and shopping together at a grocery store in New York City. They seemed to hit it off from the get-go. Meg and Mellencamp kept their relationship going strong, although secretly, for nearly 4 years. In mid-2014, they broke up for the first time. Apparently, the couple had been struggling to manage the physical distance. Meg lived in New York and Mellencamp resided in Indiana, and that it was the long distance that ultimately was the cause. Mellencamp told Rolling Stone that living in the Big Apple was not an option, explaining that he was too sensitive to live there and that he could not see poor people, could not see the suffering, and could not see the trash on the streets. It looked like the end. However, Meg and Mellencamp rekindled their romance in 2017, even though the musician had told Howard Stern months earlier that he was in Meg's bad book. In Mellencamp's own words, he said that she hates him to death. Clearly, however, that wasn't the case. The relationship blossomed after Meg Ryan and John Mellencamp reunited. In fact, the two even got engaged in November 2018. But less than a year later, they announced that they had called off the engagement. After they split, a source explained that Mellencamp struggled to handle Ryan's fame and the spotlight that was put on him as a result. The source told the outlet that they did not think he loved all the attention he got just from dating an actress, and that they believed he would stay away from dating another famous person for a while. Mellencamp admitted to Howard Stern that he has a difficult personality. He further acknowledged that one can well imagine he was probably not the easiest guy to get along with. In fact, the source who spoke with Us Weekly in 2019 said that Ryan was the one who ended the relationship. As of now, Meg Ryan has no confirmed current partner. She has been focused on her work, her philanthropy, and her family. She adopted a daughter from China, initially named Charlotte, and later changed to Daisy to better fit her personality. She has been working with CARE, a charitable organization dedicated to ending poverty by helping women work together. Russell Crowe, on the other hand, is in a long-term relationship with Brittany Theot, a former actress turned real estate agent, now a personal assistant. That has been credited as an assistant to Crowe on his film The Greatest Beer Run Ever, and his movies Sleeping Dogs and Land of Bad. It appears Russell is walking the same path as Meg, as in 2020 he said he was not going to get married again. He said doing it once was cool and great, but he did not want to do it again. He described his life as so joyous and happy at the moment, and asked why he would ruin that with a wedding. Meg may have closed the chapter with Russell Crowe, but the internet hasn't let her go yet. The scandals that followed, the affair with Russell Crowe was supposed to be the worst of it, but the scandals did not stop there. In 2003, Meg Ryan walked into a television studio in London for an interview with Michael Parkinson, one of the most respected talk show hosts in British history. What happened over the next 17 minutes was totally unexpected. Meg was in the United Kingdom to promote In the Cut, an erotic thriller directed by Jane Campion. It was a dramatic departure from the romantic comedies that had made her famous. The film required some explicit scenes, and Ryan knew it would be controversial. What she did not expect was to be interrogated about it on live television. Parkinson took an aggressive approach. When she wasn't forthcoming, he questioned why she would appear in such a film. He implied that her personal life, her divorce, and her relationship with Russell Crowe had driven her to make darker choices. Meg naturally became uncomfortable. She gave short, one-word answers and eventually told Parkinson to just wrap it up. The fallout was immediate. Parkinson later called her behavior unforgivable. The British press piled on, describing Ryan as sullen, snooty, and arrogant. Although Parkinson later apologized, it didn't change anything. Meg decided to take some time off the spotlight. But during her time away, another controversy emerged. Her facial appearance changed noticeably over the years. Her large, bright eyes appeared uneven, one larger than the other. Her cheekbones and chin appeared more full and somewhat swollen. The speculation about cosmetic surgery began and never really stopped. Anthony Yun, a prominent plastic surgeon who has not treated Meg Ryan, shared his professional opinion on the situation. He expressed his belief that the actress may have undergone a series of cosmetic procedures and described her appearance in a critical manner. His comments have added to the ongoing conversation about the challenges and expectations faced by celebrities in the entertainment industry. The pressure to maintain a youthful appearance can sometimes lead to unfortunate outcomes, as seen in cases of cosmetic procedures that do not go as planned. Meg Ryan's situation is not unique in Hollywood, where plastic surgery is common, and the desire for a youthful appearance is often amplified. While she has not publicly addressed the speculation, her fans have expressed concern and support. Many have noted that the entertainment industry's standards of beauty can be unforgiving and may contribute to the pressure on stars to undergo cosmetic procedures. Meg Ryan is still out there today. She may have lost her status, but her legacy and the lasting mark she left on the industry cannot be denied. Did Russell Crowe ruin Meg's marriage? Would things have been better if she was with Leon Quaid? Share your thoughts with us in the comments section. Remember to like, share, and subscribe. Also, click the next video showing on your screen. You will enjoy it.